Alright, people. I just wanted to go over what was going on with new builds. So, decided to make a hardcore character this season. Still have all 3 lives. And was able to eat the content pretty easily. Act 13, I barely even seen any of the creatures. Anyway, let's do a little show real quick. We'll go ahead and jump into a dungeon. This is one of the first ones we've done. As you've seen, we only done another one. Let's show you what the build's like here. So here's electric. We're doing the double Rune Knights. And we're also using the Wrathful Rune Knight with the melee minions. Which means when he morphs, he's gonna go crazy and start punching everything. A lot of the stuff still works on it. You can still use, like, the channeling for the damage amp and all those kind of things. With this build, until you have it maxed out, you're going to have to resummon your Rune Knights and then randomly resummon the Abysslings as well. To keep them active. But, as you see, lots of damage. Figured I'd just do a map real quick so people could see what that was like. This is with like hardly any investment in the build either, so let's go over a few things. Like the staff here is for Abysslings in a way. We really just kind of made a crit staff and just kind of ran into a map just to see. So as you'll see, with pretty low investment, and mainly investing into a little bit of tankiness because of the hardcore, able to easily maintain and do any of the endgame content so far. Well, not the endgame, but the storyline content and then writing the maps. So we'll see how the endgame content works, but so far it's been a really good build. A couple things to go over it before we even get into the build is just the ease of use. So once Act 6 happens is when you get the ability to morph these guys. So before Act 6, you might run into a few issues where you find that it's kind of hard to use the Rune Knight, but that's why you could always use the Abysslings. And there's nothing wrong with using the Abysslings because the Abysslings are extremely powerful. In fact, you have to level them up and kind of keep them up if you want to use the Rune Knight effectively. So there you go. Here we go. And let's go over high tone, low tone melody. So here we go. If you're gonna do a minion build this season, you got 2 options. The problem with what's happened in the game, not really a problem, but just what they've added, is you're either gonna go Abysslings, which is over here in this side of the tree, and I have many videos on this already, or you're gonna go over here and you're gonna go into Rune Knights. Now, as a hardcore character right now, I seen this regeneration effect, and I seen a few things over here, and I was like, you know, let's go Rune Knight, let's try it out. We spec'd out of the regeneration effect for a reason. It's the mana effect here is a lot more powerful than the HP effect, and that's only because of one other thing we're doing here. And that's the Rune Knight ally transmission. So let's go over this tree real quick for everybody. And then we'll go over how you morph your Rune Knights. So, when you first get on here, you might see a lot of stuff and try to figure out how you're going to spec this. Pretty easy way is by the time you hit Act 6, which Act 6 is really where you can start actually using this build effectively, Urgent Summons is going to help, because when you first summon your Rune Knight out, not only are you going to have 2 additional max Abyssling summon count, but you're going to have 15 seconds of that. And it's always going to give you the 1 max Abyssling summon count increase. So this is going to help you with merging and making your Rune Knight turn into the Void Knight. At least the first few times. Now, the way you want to build here is kind of up to you. The regeneration effect over the Rune Knight Authority effect would be great. The effect here. For hardcore, this is kind of what we were doing right here. As I leveled. Now, as I got to higher levels, I started going into this. And I went all the way over to the Rune Knight Authority effect. Now, because I'm trying the Wrathful Rune Knight out, his Authority effect isn't quite as powerful as some of the other Rune Knights, so I just decided to try out the damage amplification for now. Now, a few options for people so that things make sense. If you're in Origin mode, I would try out Transfer Pain. This is going to make your minions last a lot longer, especially in the harder difficulties. And if you've happened to get the new gem, which we'll go over in a second, I would spec into this bottom left part. Over here, early on, you're not going to have a lot of seal effects and whatnot that you're using, just because it's too mana intensive, so you probably won't be specking into that right off the bat. Second phase for people, once again, hardcore mode, I would definitely stick with the Rune Knight HP absorb 50% ally transmission. Really convoluted what it says there, but it just means that your Rune Knight now absorbs HP and gives HP back to the caster. +5 Rune Knight skill level is extremely easy. There's no thinking involved. It's just, hey, a little bit more resource cost. My Rune Knight's a lot stronger. Now, if you're not in hardcore, I would recommend doing the Mark of Focus. Mark of Focus is a lot more damage. Mark of Focus has always been a lot of damage in this game. The big thing with this Mark of Focus is you're getting cooldown dampening and you're getting an effect. So, if you want to do the most amount of single target, also have the most control over where they move throughout the fight, you're going to use Mark of Focus. Now, further into the game, or even early, if you don't have the crit yet, something like going down the sharpest path is going to make them just crit like mad. Acceleration is exactly what you think, but you do get a new ability called Cognition. What this does is it seems straight. All the moves are kind of convoluted in what they say, but they're really simple. Is increases Rune Knight's cognition. That does nothing. What this does is it just decreases the Rune Knight's skill cooldown by 1 second on Rune Knight's kill. Usually, if you are running through really concentrated maps and you have a Rune Knight that has a really cool ability you want coming off cooldown, that's just going to happen all the time because Rune Knight's going to kill everything on the map and just constantly have his cooldowns. So all the builds here are really powerful. Just for hardcore, if you see my character, I'd just like to explain, hey, this is mainly why I'm doing that, and it's because I'm in hardcore. And I recommend other people to do it too. If you want to just live forever and be really tanky, this is crazy. Now, the next 2 options are the big options. Do I want to end my tree in Seedling, or do I want to end my tree in Coal? So let's go over Seedling since that's what we're on this character. So for Seedling, I'm trying out the Rune Knight damage amp, since we usually have 2 Rune Knights up, and then I can usually get up a few Abysslings for a moment. Though the harder content, I'm almost positive we're going to have to start trying something like this, because when the Rune Knight dies, you're pretty much over. The danger response doesn't necessarily affect your Rune Knight as much as it affects the Abysslings before the Rune Knight absorbs them. It does affect the Rune Knight, but when you use it and the Abysslings first come out, it just is making my Abysslings live so they could actually be consumed. That's before we got this ability down here. So once you get the Rune Knight always gains highest level fusion buff upon absorbing an Abyssling, he only has to eat 1 Abyssling. For those of you who are already trying the build out and you're in round Act 6, maybe you're getting into round Act 10, you're probably getting to that point where you're like, man, it is impossible to get my Rune Knight fusioned up during a boss fight. Well, this will take care of that. Once Rune Knight always gains highest level fusion buff, you're going to feel like a Rune Knight Minion Mancer. You immediately feel like a Rune Knight build. The Max 2 Rune Knights, it's good. I do like it. The reason why we're using it right now is because of hardcore once again. In hardcore, I can't really afford to have any Rune Knight ever die and then not have another one immediately pop back up. So since I always need the life steal happening, I always need a tank, I just decided to go with the 2 Rune Knights. Instead of going for the damage over here, you can go into the minions gain energy on hit. And since your minions are staying alive for so long, you can spec into the energy side of the tree. You can actually get huge bonuses for all of these different kinds of energy. Now, it's a lot of points if you want to do this, but it is interesting. And interesting is always kind of fun, especially while you're leveling and whatnot. Last thing, for me, the final build here would most likely be either getting rid of the 2 Rune Knights, or if you do keep the 2, stat transfer. Because I usually go crit with my builds, and at the very end, the stat transfer is always extremely potent, and this is going to probably make the Rune Knight a little bit stronger than anything else. Now, other build we'll go over here in just one moment, and I'm just going to jump on the other character for that. That's using this final tree off to the right. Now, the tree off to the right, very interesting. We'll go over that here in just one moment. But essentially what you're doing, in case you don't want to watch the whole video, you're just summoning abysslings out, and they are exploding. That's what most of this tree is. In fact, the entire tree is. So, this gets rid of that issue I was talking about where you're having a hard time forming the Abyss Knight. It absorbs all your abysslings at once. This duration for urgent summons just means that you're going to have more summons more often that you can summon out for more explosions. My favorite build for this is going into an extra elemental explosion occurs, or going into the 100% elemental explosion damage amp when you absorb a different abyssling of a different element. I'll show you guys how that works here in just one moment. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of go over. I think for this new season, there's quite a few good builds. For Minion build, all the way up to Act 6, Poison Abysslings was what I was using, and the new Poison Rune Knight. Very powerful, seemed great. I like when the Poison Rune Knight morphs and does the cleave. And once we got to Act 6, you get the new ability. So let's go over that new ability real quick. Alright, so this is how the build works, guys. You got to use Hazy Melody. I don't see it for some reason. Let's just pop up Melody here. Here it is. How this works. Hazy Melody just takes your Abyssling summon countdown per Rune Knight fusion stack. Meaning that usually when your Rune Knight has been fused into an Abyss Knight, you're no longer able to summon any more Abysslings. And that's what we have to build for. If you decide to just use this to buff your current Abyssling build, that's fine. You're going to get Rune Knight Authority effect increase. If you're going to use it to do the Rune Knights, which you have to, in Rune Knight damage amplification is pretty big. The Awakening on here, I think, the most interesting one. Origin. So Origin's going to give you the extra Abyssling summon count during high tone. And Minion skill cooldown dampening as well. This is a big deal. This is going to make it so that you're able to just keep summoning out Abysslings, and you can do the explosion build a lot more effectively. Alright guys. So now that we've gone over Hazy Tone, I kind of showed you guys the hardcore character. Just wanted to show you guys what it was like. So once again, here's what we did for skill tree. Nothing special. Don't really have anything legendary. And we really only have one rare Rune Knight. And other than that, was able to smash all the content very, very simply. Was extremely powerful. Tankiness was there. Lifesteal was there. Everything you could need. Alright guys, for end of video, I'm going to be working on this a little bit more. And we're going to be figuring out what the best build is. But I just wanted to go over real quick. Hey, Hazy Tone, new ability, guys. Make sure you go and grab it. Make sure you start summoning your Rune Knights out. Lots of fun. This is more... wanted to show you guys what it was like in a higher content. So I have a Wrathful Rune Knight going on here, and we also have the Lightning Rune Knight. I'm not going to add a lot of damage to them. We're just adding two links to this guy in general. And this guy's just using an HP link. And this is just to show you guys how it works. So, a question people are going to run into is, what's the best 2 Rune Knights to use if I'm doing the double Rune Knight setup? Or what's the best setup in general? I think for clear, doing the Abyssling Explosion build is going to be one of the most fun, if not most effective. And that's just going over to here, specking for Rune Knight explosions. Double Rune Knight's great too. And I just want to go over something with double Rune Knight and how you might want to build. So if you want to go a Wrathful and an Electric, which was my first idea, the problem I'm running into is one's a cast speed, one's an attack speed minion. So because of this, it's going to be difficult to build both of them. And what you can do is you can just go a double physical minion. And then some people might wonder how that works. Let's go ahead and show you. So we got the Rune Knight, and we've got Javelin Abysslings. Now, if I was to summon out another Abyss Knight, and then used a Javelin Abyssling again, it would eat this Rune Knight, and there would just be another Javelin Abyssling Rune Knight here. There wouldn't be 2. If you want to do 2 Rune Knights of the same kind, the only way to do that is have 2 different kinds of Abysslings. Currently in the game, there's only 1 Abyssling per element, other than Physical. Physical has the special ability to summon in a melee one. So once the melee one comes in, this guy doesn't want it. And he only wants to eat the Javelin Abysslings now. So we can throw a Javelin Abyssling in, and he'll eat that one. And the melee Abysslings will be eaten by this guy. They're not considered different elements, but they're considered different Abysslings, just for the fact of him eating them here. So whenever you're feeding them back and forth, all you have to do is just go back and forth between the Javelin and the melee. Now that's if you guys want to do 2 Wrathful Rune Knights, which I thought was kind of cool looking. If not, and you want to do the element with the Wrathful, that's possible too. All you do is you just summon in the element one. Drop in your element Abyssling, and he'll eat that. You got 2 different things going. Problem with this is you will always run into the issue where element pen doesn't affect your melee guy or your physical guy, and cast speed doesn't affect your physical guy either. So you kind of have to decide on which one you want to do the main damage and which one you want to be there for just debuffs or for tank. So like, let's say the electric guy, you want to do the main damage. Well, this guy you can kind of build just for tanking and even give him the link runes for it. Especially because your Rune Knights are only ever going to share 2 skills at the same time. They'll never share more than 2 link runes. So you can go ahead and make one of them a little bit more tanky with more tanky runes if you ever felt like it. And he can kind of be the upfront tank, Wrathful, but just kind of decides on how you want to do it. I think going all out damage is probably the best. So double Wrathful or 2 different kinds of element. So far, my favorite elements have been electric and ice, or electric and poison, if anybody just wonders. Now, next build, and then I just wanted to go over this real quick last, because I know that my videos get a little long, guys, but here, let's go ahead and go over this real quick. A bunch of new build stuff out, kind of important to show everybody a few of the things, and it is very expensive to go and spec these things if you don't already have a lot of currency and stuff here. So let's just go. This gives you a larger, more powerful explosion, and that's all that does. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like when we get the double explosions, which I think is really cool. So this is more of a build once you're a little bit further up. And why I say that is you do want to have the +1 max Abyssling summon count on a weapon. And you do want to have your Hazy Melody tone awoken. So I've already awoken this for max Abyssling summon count, just to show people. I wanted to make sure before I made the first video, I kind of tried everything and could let everybody know, hey, this works, this doesn't work. This is what I think is best. Stuff like that. So, while you're using these guys, once again, Sacred Devotion works just fine. You can Sacred Devotion the entire time they're up. You're just not giving them... You're not going to summon as many Abysslings. So, if you're going for the 2 Rune Knights, Sacred Devotion's much stronger. If you're going for the 1 Rune Knight Explosion build, you won't be doing Sacred Devotion as much, if that's going to help people with like what runes you want to level up first. You're always going to be doing Gather Minions, so now the most important runes for us, I think, are going to be the Gather Minions and the Mark of Focus. For off runes. Gather Sacred Devotion, if you're doing the two Rune Knight build. If you're not, Sacred Devotion will be on the back burner a lot more. And let's show you guys how the second build works. So this is for the Abyssling Explosions. And if you're going to do Abyssling Explosions, I think one of the best Rune Knights is the Ice Rune Knight. I really like how his explosion works. Alright, and the last part of the build I kind of like to go over. And one of the reasons why we did the Awakening the way we did is so that we can do these explosions over here. So I'll show you the double explosion since it's the kind of the most visual. This does an explosion at the Abyssling's location and at the Rune Knights. Over here, you're going to get the healing effect. Over here, you get the 100% damage amplification for eating a different one. So, lots of cool little options you got here. Let's go ahead and show you what it looks like. So if you go this build, massive amounts of AoE damage. The entire time, he's going to be absorbing these little Abysslings. All your Abysslings are doing these huge AoE. And it's great. So, that's how the Javelin Abysslings work with this guy. If you decided to use the melee ones, it's going to look a little different. I just want to show people in case you decide to make it right off the bat. You're like, that looks different than I... And then here is what the melee guys look like when they absorb. It's kind of why I like the Javelin Abysslings, because when the Javelins absorb, they do this explosion here. And even though we have the melee guy out, as you see, we can still explode with the Javelins if we want to, as long as you're summoning them out. Works the same way. If you wanted to use the other Rune Knight, you could use any of the elements that you like. So you wanted to fill the whole screen with electric. Just constant electric fill. Very cool build. Now to do this, once again, it's good to let people know that you might need to have the Awakening for Hazy Melody to make it work correctly. And you might want to have +1 Abyssling on your weapon if you want it to be summoned out and just proc as often as you're seeing me do here. But it does work. Those are the 2 builds. So when I've gone through and kind of checked through my characters, I've found that the double Rune Knight, especially for leveling in hardcore, I loved it. My hardcore character is going to do this build too. It's just that I need to do an Awakening and get my weapon figured out here, and then I might try this out a little bit. Whether or not we stick with the 50% buff duration for urgent summons, I don't know yet. But those are the 2 major builds for the new stuff, guys. Really simple. It seems complicated when I first looked at the trees, but after kind of specking into them for a bit, it comes down to which one you want to do, the double or the explosions, and you kind of build that way as well. Once again, if you're not sure what you're doing, don't build it the way my guy is over here for maximum damage. Kind of go more for the Rune Knight HP ally transmission, and you'll be fine. Other than that, all of the build is exactly the same. For people that might ask about the Zodiac tree, it's exactly the same as Abysslings. You're just going for as much minion damage as possible. The only thing that's changed is the nodes like this, where it's Abyssling. Stay away from these. That doesn't affect your Rune Knight. I know that it seems like that's apparent, but I could see a lot of people already just speccing into this and going, how come it doesn't work? Well, it's because it says Abyssling. Anyway, hopefully that helps you guys. I'm going to be making a lot more build videos on it here soon. The new ability, Hazy Melody, really cool. And the fact that we get to kind of try out all of our little Rune Knights and switch back and forth between them now, kind of a cool thing. Little tip for people, the Abysslings, you can build just tanky. They don't necessarily need to have anything attached for damage. It doesn't seem to increase the damage of my Rune Knights, if that's a question for anybody. So the best thing for your Abysslings that you can do is kind of build something tanky for them. So as you see right here, something like HP Minion, Minion presence and whatnot. And why we're doing this is because your Abysslings, if they ever die and your Rune Knight does not get the buff off, then he will not morph. And depending on how you're spec'd, you may have a situation where you have to wait another 30 seconds or more till you can even summon your Rune Knight out again to get the buff. So go ahead and try this out. I highly recommend for hardcore. I highly recommend for Origin. I think it's going to work for both. And I don't think that you're going to need a lot of gear to try to make an Origin character work. You're not going to need to craft it too much. So this should work out pretty good. Anyway, everybody have a great day.